Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of Signal Fire Radio, a show where a bunch of military veterans get together and defeat the villainous philosophy of self-doubt by having encouraging conversations designed to feed your mind, strengthen your body, enrich your spirit, and grow your tribe. I'm your co-host, Rob Renz. I am joined, as always, by my co-host, our Season 3 co-host, to be clear, Brandon Pettyjohn, ESQ, PLLC, the Port City attorney. And Matt, we've upgraded Matt's status from he's on vacation to he's on sabbatical.
Yep.
Yeah. Matt has given me the authorization to tell all of our listeners out there that he has achieved some very gainful employment.
That's true.
He's doing a great job.
It's a positive move,
Yep.
So he's happy, and we're happy for him.
It's a move for him, provides him with financial security, a routine, and he's enjoying the work too, which is most important. I've seen him 2 times now since I've been down there, and he's running like a chicken with his head cut off, but he feels like he's a duck in water.
He's at home.
And that was 2 bird references.
I like that.
Lil Wayne, come find me. Let me get a feature.
Oh wow, that was terrible.
Let me get a feature. Brandon, I got a lot to unpack.
Well, because you're moving, or?
Well, no, we moved. That's done. Check it off the list. And since our last episode, I told you how much that was weighing on me, dude. I feel so light.
I bet.
I feel free. Like that is finally behind us.
Well, before we get too far in the weeds, let's
you want to introduce Chris now?
Yeah. Chris, why don't you introduce yourself to the people and just say what your name is, what you do, and we're gonna get into his story later. But I don't want you to be like, who the hell is this?
Who the hell is this guy sitting here on our YouTube page that we have yet to introduce? You're right. Good co-hosting right there, dude.
I got you.
All right, so my name's Chris Bradley. I'm the owner of Cape Fear Investigative Services. I'm a private investigator here in Wilmington.
And you were a Jacksonville, North Carolina police officer from 2000 to 2020.
Well, 2009 to 2015 at Jacksonville.
Okay.
I'm sorry, 2006 to 2015 at Jacksonville. Prior to that, 2000 to 2006 with Surf City. 2015 to 2020 with Onslow County Sheriff's Office.
So we're going to go through
all of it.
2 decades of drunk Marine arrests.
Oh, yeah.
I want to hear some
during
of those.
the height of the war.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, man. Just Five-Finger Death Punch was probably playing in every Dodge Charger that you pulled over.
They were playing at Hooligans back then. It was great.
Yes. We could go win the Battle of Fallujah all over again after this conversation.
I'm ready. Let's go. Give me more bang.
Dude, more bang, more ass shock. We got 2 bangs and we got a monster today.
My fault.
That's okay. No, that's
Switched
okay.
it up a little bit on
Did you? I saw an ad for Monster, the white one. Has the white Monster with the blue letters replaced the black can with the blue letters?
I don't know. I've seen those in the store.
Do you know they have monsters that have alcohol in them? They have 6%.
Yeah, I saw those. They're called
Monster.
It sounds like the original Four Loko days.
It's like a monster seltzer.
It sounds like a 96 in Jacksonville, North Carolina.
Yes, it does. Yep.
Is what it sounds
like First Arm's getting a call.
Yeah, right. You're gonna drink, don't drive. You're gonna drive, don't drink. Brandon, on Instagram, I'm not saying this because I'm jealous. I just want you to know.
Okay.
You're doing a second podcast. There's some BJJ content out there that you're doing. And I was tickled to death that you showed up 50 minutes late to y'all's first episode.
Yeah, for sure.
And I was like, you know what? Brandon will never be late for an episode of Signal Fire Radio. Ever.
I'm here, baby.
Then we just spent 40 minutes watching you lawyer, which was amazing.
I was here. I told you I'd be here at 1:40.
You were right.
I was on a phone call with a client.
It was so cool to get it behind the scenes of what it is, because we see people professionally, but if we don't work together and stuff like that, it's like you never really know what it is that you do.
Right.
And I'm super glad that you brought Chris today, too, because I just got done watching season 2 of Perry Mason on HBO.
Ooh.
And I'm super into lawyer shows.
Heck yeah.
Like, I like crime stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So I think today's episode is just going to be like our own true crime podcast.
I like it.
But
did you watch Better Call Saul? That's the question.
Oh, yeah. I love Better Call Saul.
Did you watch the last season, too?
No, I'm not caught up.
It's on Netflix
Is
now.
it? Yeah. Should I invest the time?
Worth it.
Dude,
Super
Bob
good.
Odenkirk, I mean...
I love that man.
He's so good.
He's a national treasure.
Is there, Chris, because you guys, sometimes you watch shows and you're like, that's not how it is. Like as an investigator, as a private investigator. What show and what character from that show is like, okay.
Like a true to as it could be to like an investigator, a cop, anything like that.
So there's a movie and a show.
Okay.
Show, I've got to go with the original Magnum PI.
Okay.
Because he's got a butler named Higgins. I have a dog named Jay Higgins. I don't drive a Ferrari yet, but you know, if somebody wants to give me a red Ferrari, let's do it.
Let's
Let's
go.
do it. There was somebody picked up a kid in my daughter's car line driving a yellow Ferrari and had had the audacity to open the top right there in front of all these other people driving
BD,
Toyota
man.
Camrys and stuff. Like, dude, what are you doing? You can't do that.
Movie, you know what? One that really just kind of sets home to me, Point Break,
Yes.
and then SWAT.
So who's the character in Point Break? Is it Johnny Utah? Is he
Johnny Utah,
Yeah.
number 9.
Number 9? Utah.
9.
Bring me 2. Point Break, and then you said what was the other one?
SWAT.
SWAT. Okay.
With Samuel Jackson.
Yeah, Samuel Jackson,
And LL Cool J.
Colin Farrell,
Yes.
and Bridget the Midget makes a
Yes.
cameo in
Yes.
it.
Yes.
Which this might not be a safer podcast story, right? But there's a place in Atlanta, Georgia, called the Claremont Lounge. If you ever go to Atlanta, you're a tourist there, you have to stop at the Claremont Lounge. And one person on this panel of this podcast has seen Bridget the Midget there. I'm not going to say who it was. I'm not going to say who it was of the
Say
three
how
of us.
exciting it was.
But yeah, that'll be for the Signal Fire After Hours
The After Hours
podcast. Because we
podcast,
talk about
yeah.
business here and
Yeah.
entrepreneurship and getting better at life, right?
I think her name was on the premier sign, the marquee at
Yeah.
Toby's once.
That would be, if you could find an old picture of that somewhere, that needs to go.
I used to know
like,
the
in
owner. I bet.
Chamber of
I bet
Commerce.
yeah.
Yeah.
My favorite though, all-time favorite marquee at Toby's. Dancers start at noon. 16 pretty ones, one ugly one.
So how have you? So tell me, give me the oral history as Chris Bradley sees it of Jacksonville, North Carolina.
Oh my gosh, born and raised in Jacksonville.
Okay.
Graduated from Jacksonville High School. Played soccer growing up. Had horrible grades, probably like this guy over here next to me.
Yeah.
Military wasn't an option when I was getting out of high school. I just wanted to play soccer and run around the field. Talked to a college coach. He said, your grades suck.
Okay.
Go to community college for a year.
Okay.
Come back and see me. Cool, no problem. So I did. I went to Coastal, realized I had a whole lot of freedom. Didn't have to go to class.
Yeah.
And after the first semester, I was on academic probation.
As you should be.
Consequences,
Let's
right?
see.
Yeah.
3 weeks before I met with the coach from a college, I ripped my ACL in half, tore the meniscus off of my knee, all the fun stuff, riding a skateboard, 40 miles an hour downhill. It'll do it to you.
Yep. You weren't on a longboard?
I wasn't on longboard.
Okay.
Yep.
So when did you graduate high school?
Before you were born,
Was it?
96.
No.
No, but my question being that is like twofold, right? So you grew up in Jacksonville. So one, you're so used to the military that it's like not this like sexy thing. But two, it's like it was like the Bill Clinton 90s. So it's not like
Yes.
there was like anything going on.
Right.
So your motivations probably weren't like, hey, I'm gonna join the Marine Corps because
Right.
A, I've been around it my entire
Yeah.
life, and B, there's nothing going on. What the hell
Being
would I
from
do?
Jacksonville would have to be the greatest deterrent to
Deterrent
joining
for
the Marine Corps.
But you would be
Absolutely.
surprised how many kids from Jacksonville go into the
Really?
Marine Corps. Yes, because
Really?
their parents were in the Marine Corps.
That's true.
And they're like,
and
I'm
it's
just going to come right back
right.
here.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
But what's funny though is that you have a history of law enforcement in your family.
I do.
And so it's funny like how, there's a military lineage or a law enforcement lineage or something like that. And so who
Yeah.
was in law enforcement originally in your family?
my grandfather was 34 years with Jacksonville PD.
Wow.
My dad was also with Jacksonville PD as a reserve officer.
So and his family jumped off at Plymouth Rock, came down to Jacksonville and stitched
Yeah.
the Bradley name into the Jacksonville Ninjas corner.
and threw Marines' asses in jail
Yep.
for
Did
eight
you know the Jacksonville
decades.
Ninja?
Yes.
Do you remember
What
that
is
guy?
the Jacksonville Ninja? I don't remember.
It was this older black gentleman
Okay.
that would stand at the corner of Western and 17, and he would just do karate.
Okay.
Just do karate all day long.
What years was this?
What's
Like
he,
2000.
He was. He's. You know what? He's still around.
He's still around.
He still does ninja. He still ninjas.
So we've also arrested him for dealing.
Oh, really?
Oh, so the ninja thing is kind of a
Yeah.
front. It's just marketing. He's like a sign twirler.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, no,
Is
I
he
think
dealing
was
hard stuff or just selling weed?
So some of the narcotic guys. I was on a street crimes unit for about 3.5 years at Jacksonville before I went to narcotics, and he was arrested for selling crack. But he was a runner. I mean, he wasn't a dealer.
Doesn't make him a bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
So But yeah, that was his thing. He was standing
I mean,
on the corner.
allegedly, right?
Allegedly.
He was arrested for
Yeah.
selling crack.
The war on drugs is the longest war we've been losing.
War on poverty, I think, is actually
That's
longer.
true.
And we're
That is
losing
true.
that one really
we are
bad,
very
too.
much losing. They're very much intertwined.
Yeah, they are. They're kind of one and the same. We try to stay away from politics on this show because
Yeah,
we
no,
hate
no.
everybody.
We hate everybody
We
equally.
just yeah,
Right.
Chris is
equally.
there with us.
Equal
That's it.
distribution of distrust and distaste amongst.
No, but
amongst the
I'm really
leadership
sad
class.
you don't know the Jacksonville Ninja because he was such a staple when I was
He's on
there.
YouTube. You got to YouTube.
It
the
could have been one of
Jackson-
those things that I forgot.
yeah,
yeah,
sure.
you know.
No, it was great though. He would wear cami bottoms
Okay.
and just no shirt, ripped up dude.
Yeah. So he looked like a legit ninja.
He looks like a guy that practices karate for 8 hours on the
Okay.
corner of a street
and
because
Maybe high on crack. Maybe high on
And his
crack.
wingspan was just ridiculous. He had the longest arms. It was insane.
So if you had to arrest him, you'd approach with some caution.
no.
No, you just
No.
go barreling. I mean,
Say hello to
can
Dr.
take
Watts.
you can take a punch. You look like a guy who has eaten some punches. And it's
Yeah,
like you're
yeah, I
built
have.
like a guy that can just take a hit and keep going.
I have.
Yeah.
So all right, walk us through. So you join, Surf City, which is I guess Pender County, but
Right.
you're in the area. Pardon me, where Marines are.
Yes.
So 2000 to 2020, you got 20-year career. Tell us about 2000 to 2003. The slow uptick, the big surge 2003, then how Jacksonville everyone just left, right? I mean, deployed, and then so from your perspective, how did the war over the past 20 years affect Jacksonville and folks like you that lived there and had a vested interest in it?
It didn't.
Okay.
Because Jacksonville being a hub for Marine Corps East. So you have Camp Lejeune, you have Camp Johnson, SOI.
Mm-hmm.
You have guys constantly flowing through here. So it never really affected. Business has stayed open.
That's good.
The only thing that really happened was the shift or the pendulum with Jacksonville was Western Boulevard. I remember Western Boulevard when it stopped at 17, all where Walmart and all the new stuff, all of that was woods.
Interesting.
So so it never really, the housing market never suffered. I remember buying my first house in 2000,
What'd you pay for it, if you don't mind me asking?
$78,000.
78. How many square feet?
It was 1,800.
And what part of town was it in?
The south, it was off of Dawson Cabin, so
Okay.
south past the air station.
Okay. What do you think that same house?
That house just sold. It was funny. My ex-wife sent me a message. That house sold a couple weeks ago for $214.
Dang.
That's still to me 214 sounds low.
Right.
For any, you can't find a house in New Hanover County for under 300 right now.
No,
and
you
at
can't.
300, it's
Even
a
Pender
fixer
County
upper.
almost. You
Yeah.
got to really be looking pretty good.
Yeah.
Somebody's
yeah.
been on the hunt. That I
Dude,
know
well,
for
yeah,
a while.
because you brought that. It's such a great question that you asked, Brandon. Because Jacksonville, Onslow County, it's booming up there right now, and it's probably because we're not at wartime right now. So Holly Ridge and Sneed's Ferry, all these areas are just
It only
expanding
expands. It
like
only
crazy.
expands out. So I remember even in my days in Surf City, I remember the guys from the Pentagon come down and they met with all the small towns. Hey, get ready. We're going to move Marine Corps Basic Boot Camp to Holly Ridge, where Camp Davis is. It never happened.
Oh wow.
It's still in Buford.
Yeah.
Can you imagine them
Parris Island.
moving PI to Camp Johnson?
That
Do
would
you
be
know
a
do you know
shit
the story behind Parris Island? You know that's privately owned land that was leased to the Marine Corps.
Oh really?
I think I did hear. I think my dad told me this once,
Yes.
but I don't recall.
So there was a long-term lease. Well, that lease is up and it's been up.
Oh really?
And so the family that originally owned it, they've passed away now, and
Okay.
they're in the estate it was given to their children. It's still there.
Yeah.
But
And those bratty kids are like, I got
Yeah.
a couple mil.
well, they're
Yeah.
looking. Well, they're looking at they can remove the Marine Corps from Parris Island and make that a resort town.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's
Oof.
$100 million switch. I'm
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah. You've got Fripp Island, Fripp Island right around there, and
Yes.
all those ones around Kiowa and stuff around Charleston, that's prime coastal
Right.
property.
I mean, honestly, real Marines are made on the West Coast anyway.
You think so?
Yeah,
Is
get
that
rid
what
of
it-
just
yeah.
get rid of PI.
yeah. Honestly, man, if Parris Island, South Carolina, turned into a resort, I wouldn't change I wouldn't knock down a single building. I would use I would
barracks.
repurpose every single
Well,
building.
Go to Curry Beach. Look at Curry Beach.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
that's
you know
true.
they've kind of what was was it a reserve base?
Yeah.
A national
Force.
Yeah.
National Guard, Air Force base, and that's also where counterterrorism was out of for a long time.
Okay.
So that was actually a base used by law enforcement. We would go down there to do training, and it was like kind of funded. DEA used it, and some other federal alphabets used it for training. But it was also a resort area.
Yeah.
So the single wides up front were rented out. The families, military families could come down to the beach and rent for a week or stay however long they wanted to.
Yeah.
Speaking of single wides and beaches, is Jacksonville's
This could go anywhere.
Is Jacksonville's only beach Onslow Beach on base?
Well, yeah. No, Onslow County, no. North Topsail Beach.
Well, so I know, North Topsail, but like Jacksonville doesn't have a beach.
Jacksonville
right?
does not.
Yeah, it's always wild to me. I don't know why. Just like Marine Corps came in, took the best real estate.
Yeah, they're like, this is ours now. Screw the rest
get
of
outta
you.
here.
Yeah. You got to go up to what's north? Ocean Isle is probably the first decent
beach.
northern beach.
Oh, Ocean Isle's down south.
Oh, south. I'm
You're
going
thinking
backwards.
you're thinking of
Emerald Isle.
Emerald Isle. Sorry. Yeah, Emerald Isle. Yeah.
Yeah, I think so. So yeah, so you kind of saw it's always had a steady flow, which is good. And so, what made you want to leave law enforcement and pursue entrepreneurship?
A lot of stuff changed in 20 years of being in law enforcement, just in general. The things that we did in 2000, you couldn't do today. We're in a world of. Let me back up. I remember days of working, going chasing dope dealers, foot chase. There would be a fight afterwards. They'd go to jail. Mm-hmm. They expected it. I mean, it was almost like the expectation. Yeah. It's not like that now.
They don't expect to go to jail when you catch them?
No. No, they go to jail.
Yeah.
But there's issues after the fight, right?
Yeah.
You start getting suspended.
Right.
Oh, got it. Yeah. Political, administrative stuff.
Right.
From a societal standpoint or a cultural standpoint, just where we are as a country.
It's the being sued, law enforcement being sued, officers are second guessing themselves. And I've done it.
Yeah.
Toward the back end of my career, I did it. And my head's not here.
Yeah.
I don't need to be here no more.
Yeah.
And then literally this PI business that I bought fell in my lap. So it was time to go.
And you enjoy doing it.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Every time I see you, you look happy.
I am.
And you guys get to work together, which I was picking him on because I don't know other than you, any other private investigators, but I dig the TV shows.
So
and I'm like, this is so cool.
Give the listeners a rundown of like what a PI can be used for and like what you do, what you implement. And, because people just don't know. They don't, it's funny, but, we've had conversations where, you can run background checks on somebody you're going on a date with, just like, tell us about like what your scope of work is and what your skill sets are and what you could be utilized for.
So obviously the first thing you think about with the PI, the infidelity cases, the child custody cases, we do those. We do criminal defense cases. We do background checks, skip traces, do locates for people, and oh my gosh, trackers. Put trackers on cars. We'll check vehicles for trackers. I have a guy that works for me that's a licensed TSM to do bug sweeps of houses. So if you have listening devices in your house, you think they've been planted, I have a guy that can come in, set equipment up, and scan your house for you. Let's see. My background being a lot of it's in narcotics and use of force and training aspects. So I can come on as an advisor or an expert in testimony for criminal defense cases. If there's a use of force against law enforcement or whatever, we can step in. Two of my guys are retired FBI agents, wealth of knowledge, which are great. One of them is doing a bunch of foreign stuff, which is nice because he can communicate with some foreign folks. I've got another guy that we just brought on about a year ago, talking about Adam. He's a retired New York State Police investigator that did IAs and he does traffic crash reconstruction.
Oh, he was the guy that you brought to
Yes.
BBC.
He was a
Good
Marine.
looking dude,
Marine.
like this
Yeah.
wide.
Right.
Yeah.
Good looking
Yeah.
Marine,
Yeah,
Just
good looking,
a good
square
look, yeah.
jaw.
Which is
handsome.
funny
barrel-chested
because
freedom fighter.
he was a Marine stationed at Camp Lejeune.
Yeah.
His where he spent his time at, and then he went back up north, was a cop up there, and then retired and moved back down here.
That's crazy. So many people want to come back or stay. I mean, I came back.
I came back,
You came
yeah.
back. Like,
Yeah.
I didn't want to go back to Jacksonville, but like the surrounding area was kind of cool.
Yeah.
So I was like, all right, I'll do
Oh,
Wilmington.
come on. I mean, Jacksonville, there's tattoo shops and there's
Haircuts,
you get-
tattoo
it's-
shops, and
It has
strip
it has
clubs.
crossed my mind to like
and
you know,
storage
when-
units.
Yeah.
when like when the prices were down, just to like buy this monstrosity of a house and just be the king of Jacksonville.
Yeah, right? Yeah, seriously. You'll be the I don't even know what the analogy would be, but it would be funny just to go lay your
Right.
flag right back
Right.
there and just be a slumlord in Jacksonville. The Better Call Saul attorney of
Right.
Jacksonville.
Yeah.
Go buy you a strip of apartments.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Go
that's
buy-
still on the table. If anybody knows any apartments for sale in Jacksonville,
Call
let me
Avery
know.
Washington, man. That guy
that's
knows
true.
multifamilies
Yeah,
like the
that's
back of
true.
it. He'll just walk up to somebody and be like, "You want to sell this?"
You know Avery?
Avery's
He's
good.
a-
I don't.
He's like a real estate mogul.
Yep.
But he's based out of Jacksonville. I
Yeah,
think.
Marine veteran. Yeah, I
Wait a
think he
minute,
moved
he's-
down here now.
Yeah. He was at the last
Black guy,
meeting.
long beard.
Yes,
Yeah,
yep,
he was a
I did
guest
meet
on
him.
the show.
Yes.
Yeah, Avery's fantastic. Bunker Labs
Super smart guy.
ambassador, crazy smart.
Yeah.
crazy smart.
It's interesting, like the different routes that people take, whether it's, pivoting from military law enforcement, anything like that. But you've found a career where you can apply your old skills and trades, which isn't something that always, can happen. But you also teach too, right?
I do.
Yeah. You're a professor.
At Coastal in Jacksonville.
What do you teach?
Criminal justice classes.
Yeah, how's that go?
It's fun.
Yeah,
It's different. So I've taught with BLET for a long time, basic law enforcement training,
Mm-hmm.
and I taught defensive tactics, subject control application, narcotics, all the fun classes, traffic stops, patrol techniques.
But now you're kinda like
crowd
in
management. But I've moved over. I made a shift
theory,
over
right?
to curriculum classes.
Okay.
So I'm actually teaching students that have never been.
do you wear glasses?
Yeah,
do they call you
absolutely.
Mr. Bradley?
Absolutely, they
you
do.
show up with slacks and a button down.
I do. Yep, absolutely. But it's fun though teaching these teaching curriculum because
Yeah.
they have no idea.
Just an empty brain, right?
Right,
Yeah,
right.
And that's got to be the emotional high from being a teacher, I would think.
the only
It's
thing
like,
is it
you know
has
nothing I'm about to teach you.
It has nothing to do with my skill set.
Yeah.
I teach a corrections class.
Right.
I know how to put people in jail. I don't know how to manage them while they're in there.
Do you have hope for the future working with kids? Like,
Yeah, I do.
let me give some context around because and I think all three of us are at right around the same age range. I'm starting to see the generational shift now where it's like young people like that are entering into the workforce.
Right.
And now it's becoming incumbent on us to develop them. And I'm trying to take inventory, I guess, of like what is going to be the defining characteristic of that next generation? Because we were a warfighting generation. So we're built very differently. We had extremely different like if you think about the early to mid to late 80s babies, we had September 11th. I just interviewed a girl today who was born on June 1st, 2001. She doesn't remember it. So we had September 11th,
So
we had the housing stock market crash in 2007, and then we lived through COVID and another Great Recession. So 3 times in 3 decades, we've dealt with some hard stuff. All while being at war for 17 to 18 years.
Right.
So that was our generation's defining characteristic. What are you seeing as these kids coming up? Because they're going to offer something for sure,
They
but
are.
what is it?
So us three sitting here at this table, if a task was put in front of us, we'd just go. We would handle it, right? The generation coming up is not like that. They have to think about it.
Okay.
And when they get done and they finally decide that what they're going or how they're going to attack that task, it's going to be very intelligent when they do it. Their approach is different. You go back to the generation previous to us, they look at us and they're like, oh, why are you doing it that way?
Right.
We're going to do the same thing.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. We're probably the smartest generation.
Easily.
Let's get it right.
Easily.
But they are doing something at a different rate. They're doing it better than we did, but the approach is different.
So they're a little bit more cerebral?
They have to be.
Yeah. And do you think that's a consequence of these things? And like there's just so much information?
Absolutely. The only thing with that scares me is because kind of the trade-off of that in the law enforcement profession is they second guess themselves. If you can go back and watch training videos after training videos after training videos, the newer generation is second guessing themselves when they need to pull their firearm. which if you look,
Is that training related?
I think a lot of it is.
Yeah.
So kind of the, taking, I hate to take stabs at a profession that I was in for 20 years, but I blame it on the administration.
Yeah.
At this point, they threaten them. You're gonna be sued. You're gonna be sued. Well, you know what? I was in 3 lawsuits in my career.
Yeah.
All right. If you do your job, unfortunately, you're gonna get sued. It is what it is. So they beat that fear into them. And so not only is it that, then you have to worry about the administration. Is the administration going to support you in your decision?
Yeah.
So you go back, so then you make the shift and go back to look at back when the first really big incident, law enforcement incident, where you remember it was all over the news, was in Ferguson, Missouri, right?
Yeah.
Where they're like, oh my gosh, the agency, they kind of turned on this officer and they made this officer look really bad, and he did nothing wrong. If you go back and watch the actual in-car camera video, that officer was getting the brakes beat off of him, and he did what he had to do. Mm-hmm. So, but it goes back further than that. Law enforcement cops have been battling their administration since the mid-2000s.
Right.
So you have that administration piece that you're having to battle. So the newer cops now are smarter than us knuckle draggers, right? And meatheads that were team guys like myself. They're smarter than we were.
Yeah.
But that's a good thing, though, right?
It really is. It is. I mean, as an attorney,
Mm-hmm.
and you and I, we've sat and talked about some of these cases when you get somebody that's been arrested. Hey, we need to see this, and we need to see this, and we need to see this report-wise, and you're like, man, it's okay. Well, maybe we need to work on a plea at this point.
Yeah, and so I was in Charleston a couple weeks ago for the jiu-jitsu tournament, and some older gentleman stopped me and just talked to me. I had my kids with me, and he was a retired cop from upstate New York or something like that. But he was saying, I was said something. I had my Port City attorney stuff on, and so we were just talking, and he always said, I never understood why guys didn't like attorneys, because them pushing me made me better at my job.
Yeah.
He said,
Absolutely.
If I made a mistake and I had ink on my face on the stand and I lost that case, I'm never going to do that again.
Right.
And so I think it's the difference between being analytical and cerebral over being emotional. And I think a lot of officers have been turned off because there was a time when policing was just emotionally driven. But we talked about this too, though. They're severely undertrained. They're severely under-equipped knowledge-wise. I mean, it takes longer to become a barber in the state of North Carolina than it does to become a police officer.
BLET right now is 640 hours.
Wow.
And they're supposed to, I think, July it goes to 720. A barber's 1,800 hours.
Yeah, is that so? What's the right number? What's the right number of training to be a basically trained police officer? Do you think?
In my opinion, 3,000 hours
Wow.
minimum.
Yeah.
And I like the Jocko's talked about it. Jocko's talked about it before, where he would like to see police officers kind of be on like a military rotation, where you have you're on the street for a certain amount of time, and then you're training for a certain amount of time. So rotationals, because
but the problem with that now though is, I mean, we're going back to where we are today with law enforcement. We see billboards, we see the DOT signs that are going towards downtown. We see news articles. You see stuff flashing across social media. We're hiring. Every agency's hiring. Nobody wants to do the job, and it has to do with money. At the end of the day, it's money. I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah.
You don't. I mean, if I can go and work for an agency and make, let's say, $40,000 starting pay, and I got some college background, I can go to Bojangles and be a manager at Bojangles and make almost 60. Why would I go and risk my life to carry a gun for $40,000 a year?
Right.
I'd rather deal with chicken and biscuits.
And all those other risks that come with doing the job. Not even like this doesn't make financial sense,
Right.
But does it make emotional sense?
So
there's so many things to consider.
And Jocko's talked about it. Some of the other podcasts I've listened to talked about it. Military guys, when they go on a deployment, they may deal with, maybe 10 or 15 critical incidents during a deployment. Cops can deal with over a course of a career of 800 critical incidents. There's nothing for law enforcement when they get out. There's nothing there.
Yeah.
And that's, it's bad. It's a problem for law enforcement.
even the retirement system in North Carolina is crazy.
It's garbage. Most cops that I know, when they retire, they go back to work. They have no choice. They have to go back to
Well, you're
work.
saying everybody that works for you, but those were all feds, with the exception of the New York State police officer.
And
right?
he don't have to work. He just doesn't want to sit around the house all day.
Yeah, which is smart. Keep moving.
Yeah.
Make a
absolutely.
little double income. Why not? Double dip.
Yeah, the issues with with equipping and supporting officers, I think that also leads to, like you said, if somebody is going to think critically about whether or not to become a police officer or not and decide not to do that, then the guys that are making that decision aren't necessarily doing it because of the right reasons, right? It's because they're like, oh, I want to carry a gun, and I want, you just get the wrong people.
Where
in
a
there
vacuum
sometimes.
exists, something will fill
But
it.
this happened, though. This just happened where they indicted 5 officers from the death. The
Tennessee one?
The Tennessee one.
Yeah.
Then was it Nashville or Memphis? Memphis,
yeah.
They beat that guy.
That was terrible, too.
Yeah.
And so when they start digging into the background of these officers, one of them was a convicted felon.
Oh, really?
And it was a minimal felon. So they're reducing standards to fill seats of the car.
Yeah.
I would rather have a quality person in that position versus minimizing standards.
So what would be your advice to somebody that's in law enforcement that sees these same things, that has the same concerns, and the general safety too? I mean, you got to think, like, we all have kids, and so we went on deployments, and that's when we were really at risk. But a cop is at risk, potentially every day. And so, like, what would be your advice to somebody that's thinking about getting out and pursuing something different, even if it's not like PI work, just like pursuing something other than policing?
First off, with law enforcement, I strongly recommend anybody that goes into the profession be well-rounded, so they do everything, try it all. You may find something, you may find a niche that you really like. Honestly, the one job, and I loved it. And you guys were in the military. Narcotics. There's nothing.
I love narcotics too.
Well, there's nothing. No, but there's nothing. So working narcotics, working dope cases, having that dope background. A lot of people don't. They're scared of it.
Really?
They're scared in the civilian world. I remember I was really considering getting out of law enforcement in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
I've got a bachelor's degree. So I'm educated. I've got law enforcement experience. I've bounced around. I've done all this stuff. I was teaching at the time at the college as well. I started applying for jobs, applying for sales jobs, applying this and that. The one job I got, or one interview I got, was with Pepsi. I was like, this is great. I may get a job with Pepsi. And I walked into this interview, and I remember sitting across from this manager, and the whole time, the only thing he cared to talk to me about was if I was doing route sales and I'm downtown and I saw a dope deal, I can't get involved. And I was like,
weird.
I didn't understand what he was getting at.
Maybe
Well, then,
was he trying to connect with you? Like,
no,
do you think that
no,
was the
not
way that
well, I found out afterwards.
he was a dope dealer?
No,
He didn't want you messing with his crowd.
He did not like cops.
Okay.
Because he got a DWI a year previous and lost his license. So he had to get a ride to work every day
Oh.
with Pepsi.
You're like, hey, it wasn't me, bro.
Yeah, right. But because of that, he had a thing. He didn't like cops. So, I mean, I got an interview, and then about a week later, I got a thanks but no thanks letter
It's
in
a
the mail.
good thing you didn't get hired at Pepsi,
Right.
right? Look at how much better your life turned out.
Oh,
because of it.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But so that's what I'm saying. So, but I've got friends that are, their backgrounds are in traffic crash investigations or working at schools, at school resource officers or stuff like that. And when they retire, there's opportunities for them.
Right.
They can go back to work for the school system. There may be a position at the school for them. Or if they got the traffic crash stuff really falls in, it kind of falls in line with some of the stuff that we do, but they are doing, working for insurance companies.
Right.
Doing insurance stuff.
Yeah,
And there's-
fraud stuff. And,
Right.
Yeah.
And I
Or
mean,
even investigating legitimate claims as
Right.
adjusters and stuff like
right.
that. Yeah.
So there's stuff for them out there. But if you want to leave the profession and you don't want to do anything outside of like this world, investigative world, you want to go into sales for, I don't know, pharmaceutical sales. Good luck.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like that I could tell you just had an insurance flashback.
Yeah, I
You were
did. I
talking
was
about
just like, oh dear
I
God.
know this world.
I know this world. Here I come. We're going to have to do a part B to this episode.
Yeah,
I want you to come back. Will you come
Okay.
back 2 weeks from today? Same time, same place?
maybe.
If
We'll
the
have to-
surf...
we'll
if
have to talk about that.
We'll talk about that. We'll get on your schedule. Because I want to talk... Because there's a parallel to what we talk about a lot here, which is like military transition.
Right.
And DOD has rightfully put a lot of people, money, time, and resources towards the off-ramp of the military.
Yes.
And making sure that those soft skills that we get in the military are relatable or equatable to skills and competencies within the civilian world. So what does that look like for police officers? That might be a really interesting thing that we can dive into for
Especially
an hour.
since there's so many veterans that move into that policing
Right.
world, because there's a lot of similarities, right? You know, if you're looking for wearing a uniform again, structure, brotherhood, you know, it's a natural. I've seen that for a lot of guys I served with, you know, it's a natural transition,
Yeah.
and so you get off ramp from the military, then you go back into this high pressure, high stress, you know, environment and profession where your mental health again takes a toll. But then you don't get any off ramping or offboarding or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
So
It's the
interesting.
endorphins.
Yeah,
It's the
right.
endorphins. It's that rush. You know, guys that transition out of the military, they're let's be honest, they're chasing a rush. You know, for you as an attorney, you were in the military. You know, you win a case in court. It's that rush. It's that you
That's why
know.
I do jujitsu too.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, it's
Really,
that's,
though,
but
yeah.
that is this is kind of going in a different direction. That's a mental health outlet for you too.
Absolutely.
And that's, you know, going back to something that you said, somebody that's been in this profession for 20 years or longer, and it's time for them to start looking to transition out. First off, I hope they have an outlet.
Yeah.
They've had an outlet before now.
Yeah.
But now that they're planning on transitioning out, you know.
Yeah, if that has been your sole identity, the only thing that you hang your hat on, I think that's where on the back end of it, you just start to see so many of those problems.
is.
If you don't have any other layers to who you are, then once you hang up that uniform, whether it be a police officer's uniform, military uniform, whatever, you're like, who am I? And what do I do? And not a lot of people have the ability to figure that out on their own.
And a last parting note, you know, I think that's a really good point in being that don't let your career be your identity.
No matter what it is.
No matter what it is, because that can be taken away from you in an instant. And if that is your only identity, then you're going to find yourself in a crisis because you don't know who you are anymore. And so I'm really looking forward to part two conversation about this. I like this interview. It's a little bit different than what we usually do, but you know, we're talking entrepreneurship, we're talking military parallels. It's all very topical, and I enjoyed it and appreciate you coming by, Chris.
I want bring your top 3 stories with you too.
All right.
Top, just like the best of each decade.
We'll go over them before, make sure there's no criminal liability. In
Yeah, right. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I enjoyed that. I was going to say something. I don't remember what it was now. Oh, I remember. You said 2 episodes ago, and we'll send this off as a parting thought, that each and every day when you wake up, you make a decision to represent something by the clothes that you wear. Yeah. You and we have all like displayed it perfectly. You've got Brandon Pettyjohn, attorney at law. So if you need a good defense attorney, check out Port City Attorney. You've got Cape Fear Investigative Services, which you do a lot because
Yeah, I do.
you didn't even touch the bottom half of the iceberg from what we were talking about before. I was in freaking awe because I thought this was all stuff that you only see on TV. I'm like, this is like a CSI show right now. This is amazing. And then a shout out to the Patriot Franchise Expo, which is coming to San Antonio, Texas on July 29th and 30th. So if you are a veteran, if you are a military spouse, if you're active duty, and you're like, hey, those guys at Signal Fire, they make some sense. I might want to start a business of my own. Franchising is a great way to do it. And the Patriot Franchise Expo is a great place to connect with, network, and potentially advance and own your own franchise business. So until next time, that's Brandon Pettyjohn, the Port City Attorney. This is Chris Bradley. Where can people find you online?
Facebook, Cape Fear Investigative Services, and then Instagram, Cape Fear Investigative Services as well.
Okay. I love how Brandon has tied in his because you are the Port City Attorney.
That's me.
I'm not the Patriot Franchise Expo. I'm just Rob.
Right. Yeah.
You're not Cape Fear Investigative Services. You're Chris, who owns it and runs it.
Right.
That's the fucking Port City Attorney.
But
right
I've
there.
also developed my own personality outside of that.
Yes, you
because
have.
if it goes away tomorrow, I'm not going to be stuck in the mud.
You're gonna fight on the UFC.
But I do want to talk about that next time too, because I've noticed a dramatic dip in my algorithm when I start posting content that's not legal. And so it's just interesting if you want to pivot your social media. We can talk about pivoting your social media outlook and how that can negatively affect.
Yeah, because
it.
every time we post you
but
just do better.
Yeah. But anyway.
All right, that's going to do it for this episode of Signal Fire Radio. TK's got to get out of here, and I don't want to get a rear naked choke from him. So until next time, go out, feed your mind, strengthen your body, enrich your spirit, and grow your tribe, and go be a Signal Fire in your community. We will talk to you next time.
Peace.